All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you had a wonderful day. It's the most exciting week of the year with the election and earnings. And halfway through, we have done absolutely nothing. Now, maybe that's about to change. We had Microsoft and Meta after the bell. Meta wasn't that bad, but they ended up not really moving. Some people are saying everybody is already long. That's what the analysts are already talking about. But then Microsoft, they gave their guidance. They were talking about AI and cloud, and it was a little lower. It's not like it was a really bad number. They actually beat on the earnings, but people are taking it kind of negative, and maybe this is what we need to actually get some movement. And now tomorrow, we don't get as much data, but we will be getting Apple and Amazon and Intel and a few others. So that's going to be really exciting. We're going to cap off the week with that jobs data. We actually had a little bit of data today that was actually good. The bonds were extremely volatile, but fact of the matter is, man, ahead of this election, we have not done much. So we got a lot to talk about. I'm going to go over what happened today, a couple of the events that we'll be looking for, then a couple of the broad factors that we talked about at the beginning of the week, namely gold, and then we're going to get into the plays, what we did, and where we go from here. So, Chad, what I need from you, a thumbs up on the video. Make sure you're subscribed, and if you don't know, we are live Monday through Friday, 30 minutes before open, youtube.com/thestock market. We will see you there in the morning, baby. Run it.
Working to the couch, it's the 2020 election. Live in the hills, but I still get a spread. Started with a live, but I still reinvest it. Fear how I feel, then it feel like a blessing. I just want the lesson, I just want protection. I'm up and I'm down, but they sound like progression. Farmer never plans if he waits for perfection. Finger to the down, hold it.
But right off the bat, like I'm telling you, we have not moved at all, even though the VIX in volatility is climbing. You take a look at the market, it looks like we are either about to fall off the edge or bounce, but now maybe these were the big earnings that we need. And make no mistake, Microsoft and Meta, they can have a big impact on the index, but if you do get this narrative of AI's kind of slowing and people aren't getting as confident, remember the big seven, the Mag 7 stocks, they topped out in July. That whole submit to NVIDIA, well, that topped out in July. So far, the last couple of months, it has been everything else. But why I'm saying we should be looking at these earnings, it's kind of a broader theme with what we've been dealing with. We are not really watching crazy moves. No matter what happens, the market is staying stable. So we're going to talk about that here on the second key. But what I'm trying to get you to see is if the earnings can move the market, that may be your best bet. You're still going to get bond volatility and currencies and gold, and everything except U.S. equities is moving, but we're getting a lot of stuff. And today you had a little bit lower on the GDP. The prices even dropped and people like that. The market didn't take that. It shouldn't really have upset the bonds, but the ADP, that came in the strongest on the year, literally the strongest in like a year and a half. So that was strong. Private payrolls went up. Again, everyone's talking about the hurricane and how that is going to impact the jobs. We were worried because yesterday the JOLTS job openings was the lowest in 3 years. That means less job openings, but then private payrolls went up. So you're getting this back and forth, and it's causing a lot of calamity in the bond market. But even then, none of this is moving the markets. It's impacting bonds more, and the back and forth on bonds was crazy. Remember yesterday you had that little squeeze from the auction. Well, after all of that data today, we gapped up. Even though you would think the strong jobs data would bring us down, you went up like 1.5%, and then the strong pending home sales, that's when the bonds started dropping. And then this right here, this was almost as big as yesterday. This was a 1% move just from this bottom to here. So there's a lot of things going on, but equities aren't moving us. Maybe now as we're getting into the end of the week in the events, maybe these earnings, that may be what unleashes some more of this volatility. So watch out for that. We're definitely going to keep an eye on Microsoft tomorrow. And then key number 2, there's the Bank of Japan tonight. And now this could be a potential mover. Remember in August, the Bank of Japan moving, that upset a lot of things, but this is what I've been talking about. We are dodging every single bullet that is getting thrown at us, whether it is data, even the bond refunding, no problem. The Bank of Japan, even tonight, people are expecting that they are not going to do anything. We're dodging every bullet ahead of the election. Even these earnings, if it's in line or slightly missed, you haven't even seen a Grim Reaper. You have seen some blowouts, but it's not like anything bad is happening as there is all of this tension and coming into all of these major events and shifts, even following the rate cuts. So what I'm saying here is watch for the Bank of Japan. It's probably not going to move us. And honestly, unless it's earnings, it seems like everybody is in a ceasefire until the election. And then I'm sure we're going to start making a lot of moves. But you are watching some of those Trump trades and reverse Trump trades playing out in the market. So watch out for that. And then the final thing, man, as we get into the end of the week, all of these events, and just don't forget, I was saying it today, man, you realize the Fed is going to cut rates next week, right? So unless anything dramatic happens with the data, right now we are pricing in another rate cut. So this is partly why gold is going up for many reasons, but in the scope of everything going on, like literally, we are going to be cutting rates next week. Even, again, market's still at highs. You've seen the reaction and you see the data. Thankfully, the jobs data is starting to go down ahead of the rate cut like last time, and then they're going to revise it up. But hopefully you get the point here. That is one of the reasons affecting gold, and that is going to be the topic, too, that we will be quickly focusing on after these earnings in the election. So don't forget about that, but hopefully you're watching it. And I talked about this today, man. It's very simple. If you want to own gold and you like, yeah, this makes sense with my portfolio allocation, or you have a plan, swing trade, day trade, make up your mind with it. But if you want to buy gold for fear's sake, just wait until the fear hits. This is what we were talking about. If you are not familiar, any time that there has been an event where gold rockets, and yes, do people buy gold because they're scared of things? Of course, but just don't forget when there are certain events, even like August 5th, that flash crash, we just saw it, but usually when things sell off and things get scary and markets sell off, guess what? Gold sells off with it. So if you really are like, I want to buy gold as like protection, I would wait until the calamity actually hits. Gold is like the late stage insurance that you could buy, because literally even on the flash crash, it dropped, and then that was a little local bottom and you started running from there. Again, even October 7th, we've talked about that. Literally the war. Oh my gosh, something big happens. It bottoms out, and then that allows it to go up. What I'm trying to tell you, even let's go back to the good old time, 2020, gold was starting to hit a high and it was breaking out. And then as they start cutting rates and everybody panics, you would think, oh my gosh, the economy shut down. Scary virus. Everybody would want gold. And they did, but they sold it off first and it dropped $200. I was like 20, 30% at the time. But this is what I'm trying to tell you. If you only want to own gold without any other plan or allocation in your portfolio, and you only want it for fear, I would just wait until calamity strikes, and you will be able to make a flip and play and at least have it just in case anything went down. So I think this was a good discussion. Keep this tip in your back pocket. Who knows what will ever happen, but I really hope it helps. And now lock in for the final days. We'll see if we get any real volatility from earnings. But now let us get into the plays. So right off the bat, man, I'm starting with Microsoft. So I don't know if it's going to for sure sell off tomorrow, but the vibe that I'm already getting from earnings and even some of the analysts and just, this AI thing is kind of touchy. Now, obviously, I think the election might hold some things, but if people are going to turn sour, I mean, there's many times, 2021, even in 2020, where we've seen kind of the tide shift with Microsoft. Again, it's also the end of the month. Ironically, tomorrow's last day of the month. You haven't seen nothing. Seasonality, October is usually positive, but none of this rebalance or none of it, man. Everything is bulletproof. That's what I'm saying with maybe it's just a ceasefire, but hopefully, if we do get any action tomorrow, I think it might be through Microsoft. So watch out for it. If it does slip, I do think it's going to tumble. If not, though, it'll probably hold within its range. Remember, Microsoft in the last year has not moved more than 4% on any of its earnings. So even if it overshoots, is down 5, 6, 7% tomorrow, I wouldn't be surprised if it goes up. Just like Google, they overshot, and then before you know it, they only moved 2%. Remember, these are gigantic companies. That is why they have that ability to move the indexes. So watch out for that. I have no plays on it, so we'll see what happens tomorrow. Then play number two, ABBV. ABBV. It's Kamala, Abela, Botox. What do you mean Botox? That's what ABBV makes Botox, if you don't know. But they had a great earnings. So shout out to the long term. This thing is one of our killers out there. But man, this was good earnings, good guidance. They beat on every metric, and I didn't make a play on it, but I am looking for 10% jump or bust. I've told you this every time, and you've kind of watched it play out here on ABBV. When they get to one of these all-time highs on good data, they either rip like 10%. I think it could go to like 217-ish, which is about 10% higher than where it's at now, or it's going to go a little bit higher and then reject and then take a couple of weeks, and then we'll have to wait for the next move. So ABBV's on my list. I didn't make a play, so hopefully there's an opportunity, or we'll be able to tell if it does kind of reject or hesitates. Hopefully we could get some of those options for cheap, so definitely watch out for that. That is play number 2. And then play number 3, chump trade, mother trucker, like garbage truck, garbage. And yeah, you're garbage, right? No, don't say that. You see, Trump got a garbage truck. That was hilarious. But yeah, the Trump trade, man, and not the media's version. I've been telling you this, and not to be divisive, not to, make the not credible even more credible. That's your own judgment, but more so, man, is you could take cues from what you're hearing, but I don't think you have seen the full true Trump trade covered, or the whole election trade. Everybody's really only talking about the negative in bonds. Like I've been telling you, regional banks, financials, oil, gold, anything, even solar. Again, even on the Kamala side, you got to think broadly here. There's a lot of election trades, and depending on what we get, that's going to cause things. And even the whole contested election, my friends, I brought this up to you, and I hate to break, I don't like this at all, but people keep talking about this, and I have realized that some of the election bets, the Robinhood betting, they're allowing elections now, and I really hope you guys be very careful betting on any of the election stuff and at least read the rules, because even the terms of the Robinhood election, the payout is based on certification by January. So if it's certified, or it's certified any later, you could still lose even if you're on the right side. But like I'm saying, how a contested election could play out the market and how it did in 2000, maybe we get that. So keep these trades in mind and be ready to go. And some of them, like I'm saying, they've already quietly went, like regionals. Nobody is talking about banks or regionals. Bonds are selling off, but the banks aren't. That is weird, but that is part of the original Trump trade. You're only hearing the bond side, not that part. So watch out for that. I think that is very, very important. But those are the main plays. As far as everything else, I made a lot of plays today, but I didn't spend that much money, and I got some free ones. So I started off the morning with Humana. They had good earnings. They were up, and then they sold off right at open, and then they started edging back up, and I grabbed a January 560. This one's super far out the money, but it was a cheap play. It was like the cheapest one I could find that wasn't like $40, $50, or $100. So grab one for $15, kind of went up there, but we'll see if their buyout is higher. If we get any news on that, then that'll get clapped. But the next earnings on Humana, that's where they issue their guidance. So that's why today didn't move as much, because they didn't really give guidance. They kind of hinted at it, but they give their guidance in Q4. So keep your eye out for that, and then shout out the long term. We'll see. Again, I do get a deposit in a couple days, so that could still be on the list. But that was the first play. Then the second play, I sold the Meta. So you guys remember the search engine stuff, and we played that dip there. I bought those 2 calls, and I thought they were overpriced at the time. Well, they went up 100%. So I sold one back for what I paid for both of them. And then remember, I bought those puts yesterday as protection from the Google earnings. Even though Google did good, Facebook went up this morning. Again, those calls went up. I was able to sell them. The puts didn't go down. So they were at my break even. I said, you know what? I only bought them for insurance. And now that I could make the calls free, I got all my money back. I sold the puts at break even. And now I just have a free meta call. It'll probably lose some value tomorrow, but it'll be worth something. And then that is pure profit. And then the next play was I made KRE free. So this was that Trump trade I was talking about. Remember, I told you I didn't want to overthink it, but I don't want this thing to turn into like a UUP trade where I am very confident in the idea, but the timing will be difficult. So since I went really big on it, again, I think I had like $1,300. I made it free. I walked away with like $500 now worth of free shares or free options on KRE till March. So that is my Trump trade locked in for free 99. So going to be watching that. And then there was a BSX and MDT. They both had like moves, and it was based off a drug approval. I grabbed a $5 $70 put on BSX CSX, and then a $5 100 call on Medtronic, I think for November 15th, but they didn't really move there, so that was another $10 there. And then this plays for earnings, and this one's kind of unique because I don't really like the earnings plays, but considering Uber was just at like $86, I'm feeling like it can make a 10% jump pretty easy. But if they do have a good earnings, I think these out of the money ones, they'll either be slightly up tomorrow morning or these will be at the same price, and then these will be the continuation play. But I spent $50 on them. I grabbed 10 of the November 15th 105 calls. I wanted the hundreds, but they were a little bit more, again, trying to keep it cheap. And then this one was probably my craziest play, my most expensive one, surprisingly. Carvana, they had earnings and they killed it, man. That stock is insane. You know that stock is up more than NVIDIA year to date, but I said, you know what? I'll play the 2 years as like 400 days on it. I grabbed a January 2026 $17.50 put. Yeah, $17.50 strike for $40. This is an insane play. It's not even in the realm of mathematics here. There's like 20 standard deviations. I don't even know what it is, but the way I was looking at it, if they did have one bad earnings, whether it was today or in the future, I think the volatility would kind of go nuts on this considering everything that's gone on with this company. But didn't work out for this one, but we'll see this play over the next 2 years, a year and a half. And then the final play, Estee Lauder, they have earnings tomorrow morning. This is a value play linked to China. I grabbed one of the 135 calls for January, so a little bit of time could play the China rally for 23 cents. And these plays were going for $2 a couple weeks ago on the China stuff. So give me earnings. Hopefully they do good. But again, they're kind of overvalued. You know, remember, they're still heavily up there market cap wise. And then a lot of retail has done bad. But if they could do good and then we get a China push, I think this one could be a good one. But I'm only down to put $20 on it. So other than that, no other play. Still getting blown out on my bond trade, but waiting for my average. And then the oil play went up. I'm actually up like $200 now. Back again on oil. So it's kind of, dude, that $66 price was killer on oil. So I like it around those low levels, but we'll see how any of that stuff plays out. See if we start teetering over the edge or hit the wall and bounce. But Chad, that is your watch list, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure Hydra LT ready to go. Make sure post your watch list. Make sure we see you there in the morning. I need the armor on. I need the helmet shining. And I need you to remember, deliberation and true wealth go hand in hand. Honor and humility. That's what closes the gap on things. Make sure you stay on the narrow path. But hey, it's not for everybody. You're just trying to try to please people. You better pick something else, and it's a lot easier, man. Make up your mind, but drink that water. Stay hydrated, healthy, chat. I'll see you in the morning, and horn.